Peace, y'all. Yeah, this is your man, Paulie Rhyme, Paul Richardson, and this is episode 8, the second part of the part 3. So if you don't know this, I'm doing this in sections. So we did part 1, episode 1, 2, and 3. Then we did part 2, 4, 5, and 6. And this is part 3 where I did 7 where I talked about organizing shows in Handa. We're doing 8. Right now, we're going to talk about parent-teacher conferences, and then we'll do 9, where I go into being a parent. And so this is the educator section of the Paulie Rhyme podcast, part 3, episode 9. So thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. Please, pass it on, tell a friend. Hopefully this helps anybody who is a parent, who is an educator, people who are involved in the English school business, and anybody in general. If you just have an interest about Japan, I'm hoping to give a different perspective on what it is to live in Japan. So I live in Handa, which is a smaller city right outside of Nagoya, which is the 4th largest city, kind of Midwest. Think of that if you live in the States or you know about the States. If you live in other countries, just think about where all the factories and car companies, if there's a region, kind of a blue collar area, that's where I live at. So the people reflect that. Food reflects that. Life reflects that. And because I'm from a place like that, it's pretty dope. And so, and also to give a little bit of background as far as my education or educator status, I was a teacher in the Bay Area before I came here for about 5 years. And then when my daughter was ready to go to elementary school, we decided, or almost it would have been elementary school in the States, but she ended up going to preschool one more year when she got here. But that age, we decided to move to Japan, which is where my wife is from. And we moved to her hometown. And then I worked at an international school in Nagoya for about 5 years. And then we started our own business, an English school / international school. And so one episode, I will get into this whole idea of what an international school means in Japan, because definitely it means something different, or it's a range. Like, people tend to say, okay, it's this, when actuality is something else on the back. But they use the term international school more as a business. And so once I learned that, I decided, hey, we're going to open up our own English school and call it Chuba International, because I'm a teacher. I'm fully qualified to be a teacher. I have a teaching certificate from the States. I worked in the States as a teacher. I didn't come here specifically to teach English, although primarily that's what I do right now. So I wanted to create a program that reflected that, and reflected my skills and my ability, as well as provide an alternative to the quote-unquote international schools that are here. And like I said, it's a range, and so we can get into that in another episode. Or if you have questions, please leave them if you're watching on YouTube, or you can hit me up. But yeah, so worked in the Bay Area, then worked in Nagoya, and then we, in that process, opened up our own school. And so from there, we've been doing this. I've been doing it full time, like right when the pandemic hit, so 3 or 4 years. And then we started with camps. So I talked a little bit about that before in one of the other episodes, so check that out. And so, yeah, one thing that we were looking at is how do we separate ourselves from the typical Aichi or English schools? And because I didn't just come over here with my undergrad and just start teaching and stay here for a couple years and leave, or we are not trying to, I wouldn't say not trying to hire people like that, but we are trying to separate ourselves. So we wanted to provide more boutique services to our families. And one of those things is a parent-teacher conference. And so it's a way for us to communicate with the families on a one-on-one basis, or if they have more personal questions, and also gauge them as to their intent and what they really looking for with their students or with themselves as far as their English journey. So we're trying to push lifelong learning. We're saying English is a skill, but also something that you can grow with, from the kids to the teenagers to the adults. And that is really our philosophy behind what we are doing. And we try to make that clear when we have people come in. So fit is really important. Obviously, everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to have a successful business. But this is education. And yes, you have to do the business, but you also have to be about the business of education. And so this is a way for us to say, hey, we know you want to learn English. We know you want to take the ACAN. We know that you want to go to this school or you have these aspirations. But still, we are here to nurture this learning, okay? Because it is learning. It's not just like pony tricks. And so I think people have to be really clear about that. And if you have your own business, which we do, I think you have the opportunity to change that narrative. So doing the communication, we talk about that. And we constantly coach parents, but we have this official parent-teacher conference, just like they do at middle schools or high schools or elementary schools. We only do it once a year because we are in constant conversation with our parents. But toward the end of the year, it's good. And the end of the year in Japan is more like March, February. And then school kind of kicks back off in April. So we decided just to do it around that time because everybody's in that mindset. Okay, we're closing down this year. We're getting ready for the next year, even though it's like in a month or two. So we're still following that just to keep people in that mindset. And so, the first part is communication. The second part is assessments. And so we assess the kids informally all the time, through reading, writing, speaking, listening, and doing different activities. Not necessarily quizzes, but kind of self-checks, or we might play some games just to give us some chance to observe the kids, put them in small groups, larger groups. We're talking to them. We're watching them develop. And then right before we have this parent-teacher conference, we do some more formal assessments. So one thing that we are using a lot of is Words Their Way. And Words Their Way is primarily about vocabulary development, phonics and phonemes, and letter recognition. So that's a good one for us because we do spend time doing that. But there is a focus on spelling. So they do like a word inventory. And instead of really focusing on the spelling for us, thinking more about it as a listening exercise. So listening to the teacher, give you a word, give you a sentence, give you a word. And how do you take that word in? How do you write that on the paper? Do you understand, what we are talking about and what we are giving to you? And then we're able to go through there and look at what is missing, and then take that data, obviously, and look at it as a group in different levels. And so we do Words Their Way. Then we work with kids A to Z. So the kids, it's a program where kids can read books online. We can print books out. There's a grammar piece to it. There's a writing piece to it. It's really robust. And so we look at it from just getting reading levels because we have a library of about 1,500 books that the kids have access to, as well as the thousands of books that they can read and also record themselves reading on Kids A to Z. And so the program is set up that way. It's primarily for our American school students, which are the advanced students, and kids who are coming from English preschools or parent returnees or parents who speak English. They have a higher level. So we get them, first grade, and then we work them through it. We can go all the way to high school with American school. And then we use Fontes and Pinnell in conjunction and talk about lexile levels and stuff like that, because that's the easiest way when people are looking at ACAN. So talking to them about that. So yeah, we do those assessments, and then any other assessments that may come up, we obviously look at the ACAN because some of our students take it. So that's not something we administer. We do like a pretest every once in a while. And then we can look at CELT levels or PSAT and stuff. It just depends on the students and the families, what they're trying to do. And then, yeah, we put together something. We meet with them for like 15 minutes, sometimes longer, and just go over it just to check in. And then if they have any questions, or concerns, that's what we take down. And then we do a follow-up. Either, we try to do follow-ups over this next month. So we'll either do the follow-up on the phone, via email when they come in. We'll talk to the kids. We take this month to kind of wind down and review a lot of those conversations and things that we think the kids should work on just to get them prepped for April. because we're jumping right back into the programs, jumping right back into the themes, and kicking it off again. So we want the kids, while it's fresh in everybody's mind, okay, let me start thinking about my sight words. Let me start thinking about my phonics. Let me really think about what my reading level is. Let me get all this information over this next month. So then we let them go for a couple months and then just let them do things and get into the routines. Once April comes, we're kind of kicking it back off, but they're still doing their reading level. They're still reading. They're still working on their vocabulary and words. And then this year, we will then check them again in July and probably just not have a meeting, but send something out. Just say, hey, this is what we worked on. This is what we talked about in February. This is where we're at in July. And then come back in February again for a more formal meeting, unless someone has any questions. And yeah, it's a good way for us to, one, just know where our kids are. And I've never worked at an English school or Aichi, so I don't know what that setup is. So part of this is also keeping my own routine, and it's helpful for me to know where the kids are. I don't want to ever be caught feeling like I don't know my kids. I don't know what's happening. It does put some pressure. So there's a lot of pros, I think, to this. Because, it lets us know where the kids are, how they're improving. We can directly tell them, hey, man, you did a great job. This is good. Or, hey, man, you're going back a little bit. You got to be careful. And then we lay it out for the kids. This is where you want to be. This is what you're trying to do, even if you don't hit it. But this is just, so that they have immediate goals, because they can lose focus or just become uninspired by what's going on, or not know like, oh, this is the pace that I should be at if I'm trying to keep up with American school, or if I'm just trying to get better, if I'm trying to move to the next level. And so that's a great way for us to do that. But also, we want it to separate us from the pack. There's lots of chains. There are some other mom and pops, and there are people who have the same amount of skills, have less skills, are running it what they think, how they should run it. And, good luck, cheers to them. But we want to make sure that our school is viewed as one of those better schools in our area, in our region, and people come to us who are really serious about English as a lifelong learning. I really believe education changes things. It can change things for our community. It can change things for our families. It can change things for, the country. So I take it seriously. I take what I do seriously. And I want to create a culture and a place where kids who are serious, kids who have, abilities, or they have that interest, really are, we put that energy in them. We put that, we put the batteries in a bag and let them go as far as they can. And we want kids to not be stifled. So we do what we can on our end, and they see we working hard. We're trying to make things. We're giving them all their information. So then they're like, yo, teachers are working. I'm working. We all working. We on a team. We doing it. And so I think that that's important. And so that's why we do our parent-teacher conferences that way. And also we're parents, so we see how it is being done at school. We, there are things that we think that are good, things that think that they can improve. And so, instead of just talking the talk, you got to walk it. So we try to take what our experience is and what we think that is, and we try to do that in our own school, because that's what we have committed to. That's what we are trying. So yeah, man. So hopefully, if you got any questions or comments, please, hit me up. You can check out our website at chubuis.com, or you just Google Chubu International Handa. You'll see that, so you can check it out in more detail. Obviously check out episode 7, check out episode 9, where I'm talking about being an artist, in 7, organizing shows, in 9, being a parent of my homeschooler, teenager. And yeah, man, share this with your people. So we really appreciate it. Once again, this is Paulie Rhyme from also known as Paul Richardson, Chubu International School, Paulie Rhyme Podcast. Peace.